In recent years, President Donald Trump's administration introduced tariffs, or taxes on imported goods, as part of a broader economic strategy aimed at protecting American industries and reducing trade imbalances. But how do these tariffs affect you, the consumer? Let's break it down. Tariffs are essentially a tax on imported goods. When countries like China, Mexico, or European nations sell products to the U.S., these goods may be subject to an additional fee, called a tariff, imposed by the U.S. government. In theory, this encourages consumers to buy American-made products, giving U.S. companies a competitive advantage. But how does this affect you directly? One of the most immediate impacts of tariffs is higher prices. Imported goods like electronics, clothing, and even groceries often see price increases because businesses passing the cost of tariffs on to consumers. When tariffs are imposed, companies importing goods have to pay the additional tax. Often, they don't absorb that cost. Instead, they raise prices to keep their profit margins intact. Consumers end up paying more for everyday items. Another issue is supply chain disruption. Many industries rely on parts or raw materials imported from other countries. A tariff can increase costs for manufacturers and delay product availability. For instance, if tariffs make electronics more expensive, the price of smartphones, laptops, and even home appliances could go up. This means consumers are left to deal with higher costs or limited choices, and in some cases, product shortages. Take cars, for example. The Trump administration imposed tariffs on foreign-made vehicles and parts. This raised the prices of cars and trucks, especially those manufactured outside of the U.S. Many American automakers who rely on imported parts were also affected. This means that consumers paying for a new car were likely to see higher prices, even for American-made models. The auto industry is highly globalized. If tariffs make imported parts more expensive, those higher costs often get passed on to consumers. It's not just the cars themselves. Things like tires, electronics, and safety equipment could all cost more. Small businesses, which often rely on affordable imports, can struggle when prices go up. They face tougher decisions, whether to absorb the cost themselves or pass it on to customers. For consumers, this might mean higher prices for everything from clothing to furniture. While tariffs aim to protect American industries, they can also lead to retaliation from other countries. When other nations impose tariffs on American goods in return, U.S. exporters like farmers, manufacturers, and tech companies can lose access to key markets. This can create a ripple effect in the economy, potentially leading to job losses or reduced wages, which also hurts consumers. For example, China's tariffs on American agricultural products hit American farmers hard. Many had to reduce their exports, forcing them to lower prices and hurting their bottom line. Over time, tariffs can change the landscape of what consumers pay for goods. Some companies may move production back to the U.S. to avoid the cost of tariffs, which could create new jobs. However, this is a long-term shift that could take years, and in the meantime, consumers could continue to pay higher prices for everyday items. The government's goal with tariffs is to level the playing field. The hope is to reduce the trade deficit and bring manufacturing jobs back to the U.S. But there are trade-offs. Consumers often bear the brunt of those decisions. So, while tariffs might sound like a way to boost American business and jobs, their effects on consumers are clear. Higher prices, fewer choices, and disruptions to supply chains can make everyday life more expensive. For consumers, it's a reminder that trade policy isn't just about economics. It's about how decisions in Washington ripple through your wallet. Tariffs may protect certain industries, but for consumers, the cost could be more than just numbers on a bill.